I'm going to say something I've only been able to say one other time in my life. Let's get ready to watch Alabama in the Elite Eight.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Nissan, and I'm going to talk about Nissan here in just a bit. And we're doing this live because I thought it'd be kind of cool to get some comments coming in while we're doing this. And Jimmy?
I didn't know. You didn't tell me. I'm glad I didn't scream out a string of profanities.
That was.
I don't recall ever doing.
Those were the Talking Tuscaloosa days, not the Locked On Bama days. But Jimmy, so Alabama and Clemson tonight. I'm still so euphoric from the North Carolina win. I don't know what to do. I hope the team isn't, because I'm not ready to play Clemson. I'm not even ready to watch Alabama Clemson. I hope we're ready to play though.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we had like a month to revel in that big win. I mean, it's the biggest. I said on BOL is the biggest win in school history. I firmly believe that. There's big wins. Whenever you win a game, I think that clinches the SEC championship. That's a biggest win. That's a big win in school history. I think whenever you beat a number one seed or a blue blood in the NCAA tournament, that's one of the biggest wins in NCAA history. But I think when you combine it all, look, the tournament is history. The regular season's important. It's big, and championships, whether they be regular season or SEC tournament, all of that's big. But there's so much focus that's on the NCAA tournament. I think a win in the Sweet 16 that delivers you to the Elite Eight, and that's only happened twice in Alabama history, the fact that you beat a number one to get to the Elite Eight, that's the biggest win. And I know people are immediately saying, but they beat a number one back in 2004. Yeah, but they beat a number one that delivered a Sweet 16 game, not beating a number one that delivered an Elite Eight game. To me, that's the difference. And that's why I say the win over North Carolina, the bluest of the blue bloods, literally blue. It's the biggest win in the history of the school. And it feels crazy that it might hopefully only be the biggest win in school history for 48 hours, right? Because if you beat Clemson and you go to the Final Four, no question, that's the biggest win in school history. So, I just don't feel like we've had enough time to celebrate. But here we are, Clemson Day. And who would have thunk that not only is it Elite Eight, but it's Clemson? That's not how you imagined it.
Look, last time we played Clemson in California, it didn't go so well. I was there, but we played them in, outside of San Francisco, and it just stunk. The whole thing stunk. I don't think this one's going to stink. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping. And look, Jimmy, you would know better than I right at this moment. Pringle and Reitzel, I think Pringle probably 95% to play, maybe even 100%. And Reitzel, at best 50-50, right?
I don't know anything about first of all, I'll be kind of shocked. Pringle played even the other night after he re-aggravated. Apparently this heel bruise has been an ongoing thing for him. It's not a brand new injury. It's lingered. It's probably affected him more than we know. I'll be shocked if Pringle doesn't play. Reitzel, I don't know anything. I'm assuming he doesn't play just because of this is nothing to mess with. And the kid's future is, I know this game is so important to all of us. The kid's future is more important than all of that. I'll be surprised if Reitzel plays pleasantly, because gosh, he would be critical tonight. He's such a good player, such a big part of our success. But, you beat North Carolina without him. You can beat Clemson without him. That's the way I'll look at it. It's a different matchup, a little bit more of a rock fight, I think, with Clemson. That's what, we're going to have to call on the will it took to beat Grand Canyon, and Clemson's a better team, obviously. But I think it's going to be a game that looks a little more like Grand Canyon and a little less like North Carolina.
But isn't that the beauty of the tournament? And look, I've been a critic of the tournament in the sense that I don't think there should be 68 teams in this thing. I've said that forever, right? I just think that's too many. But I think the beauty of it is you do get to play so many contrasting styles to your own. And so, the first game, Charleston's different than than North Carolina, than Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon was just a physical, that was a boxing match. Then North Carolina, they run a little bit, but they don't run like we run. Now, and they also are more talented than we are. I mean, there'll be some people in the comments that challenge me on that. I'd be willing to say North Carolina's got more future pros on their team than we do. Now, maybe college basketball works out a little differently. I'm just saying from a pro prospect perspective. And then Clemson's going to be, like you said, I think in between North Carolina and Grand Canyon. Maybe Clemson is more like Charleston. It's kind of weird that we're playing all these Carolina teams, right? I mean,
yeah, that's 30 points.
Carolina, Clemson.
Didn't think about that till you said it, but yeah, 2 from South Carolina, 1 from North Carolina, and you played them all on the West Coast. That makes perfect sense. But
let me go through a couple of comments really quickly. First of all, Moon Rocca says, "Man, these MFs went live." Yeah, we did, bruh. That's how we roll on Saturday, on Elite 8 Saturday. Bryce Hollis says, if we get half of
MF,
that,
Mighty Freebird.
If we get half of that Grant Nelson from 2 nights ago, we win. I can agree. I can buy that. Okay, I'm down with that. Now, I think I was going to save this for the second segment because I want to do 2 segments on basketball and do 1 segment on the scrimmage. But here's what I really believe, that we need somebody besides Grant Nelson tonight. Okay. Now, I could make the case that Grant Nelson was the story the other night because he really did a lot in the last few minutes. But, man, Rylan Griffin, or Rylan Green, as the broadcasters would have you believe, he had 19 points. He looked awesome. He sort of had his moment. Mark Sears had 18. Maybe this is Mark Sears' game.
See, I think it is.
This is Mark Sears' game.
I'm going Mark Sears in terms of who's the dude. Who's the dude tonight? Mark Sears. And it's his season. It's his team. It's him. And I think he has a big night, though I'm not going to be surprised to have real positive contributions from Grant Nelson, who's obviously got a lot of confidence right now. Rylan Griffin playing really well. Aaron Estrada, I thought, had a really good game against North Carolina. He's a big part of things tonight. I think it's going to be an all-hands-on-deck situation. You lost to this team back in November, and frankly, it wasn't even super close.
But we shot 18% from 3. I don't think we're now. Knock on wood. Is there some wood around it? Knock on some drywall. We won't shoot 18% again from beyond the arc. Let's just hope that's the case. If we don't shoot, look, if we shoot 18% from beyond the arc, we're probably losing to just about anybody usually. So I'm hoping. Look, I'm not begging for 50%. If we get 35% from 3, I feel really good.
Yeah, they're a good team. I think PJ Hall, they got good players, Hunter, but PJ Hall is the matchup issue. I mean, he's difficult to match up with. For those who aren't familiar, remember him from the November game, big-bodied guy. I mean, this guy, he looks exactly like a power forward is supposed to look like at the highest levels. But what makes him so difficult is he's skilled. He's not just this big-bodied power forward. This guy's a basketball player, and he's got some range. And I think picking the Alabama player to defend him is going to be difficult. I think it's probably Grant. And you worry. I've said all year, and this could be off, but I've said all year, I think what has hurt Grant on the offensive end sometimes is his defensive matchup. And I think when he's matched up with a physical player, and PJ Hall is physical, it sort of wears on him, and he's got to expend so much energy on that end of the floor. He doesn't have as much left on the other end of the floor. And I think tonight's that kind of night for him if he draws PJ Hall. That's the real matchup for me. We play mostly man, and so someone's got to match up with PJ.
All right, Jimmy, I get ready for a fun live read. Actually live. This episode is brought to you by the spring cleaning champions, Manscaped. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Clear out that winter bush with Manscaped.
Did you write this?
5.0. I love it. I mean, I think this is great. And watch carpets bloom like the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our special offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code LOCKEDON for 20% off plus free shipping. Look, introducing the season's champ. That's the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. I love this thing because it comes with a compact case. I take it with me everywhere I go. Whether you're looking to craft your signature look or to clean up that neckline, these are always the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning down there in your britches. Yes, I was supposed to read that. I mean,
that's
look,
why that guy called us MF. We're Manscaped fiends.
Okay, now there's Bettor Together. Look, Bettor Together is the first cooperative daily fantasy application. Bettor Together. Get it? It's a play on words. B-E-T-T-E-R and B-E-T-T-O-R. You want to go to B-T-T-T-O-R to go together to go get that app. This offers a familiar experience for existing daily fantasy sports players with a social twist. You can play with a friend or a teammate. Provides a sense of camaraderie and enhances the social experience of watching sports. Makes you realize that DFS is fun alone, but it's like a lot of other things. It's better when doing it together with friends. Shows that synergy from working together gives you better chances at winning than going at it alone. The team, the team, the team. We all know that phrase or 2 words or whatever. Creates a shared experience. Splitting a contest entry gives the feeling of being connected even when you're apart. Puts your group to chat to the test and prove yours is the best. Bracket already busted? Tired of the same old daily fantasy grind? Where you make a roster and cross your fingers and hope for the best? That's crap. Or losing the last leg of your pick'em entry? Introducing Bettor Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy platform. Look, all you've got to do is download Bettor Together. That's B-E-T-T-O-R Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON for a free $5 entry into the NCAA basketball contest. Remember the code LOCKEDON because winning alone is fun, but it's always better together. I would let Jimmy do the Manscaped live read, but Jimmy has to get Manscaped at our local gardening center.
It's true. It's true. It's a team. It takes a team.
Okay. So we really didn't we did a post game for those who don't know. We did a live show right after the North Carolina game because Jimmy and I were both so geeked up. And it was incredible. We didn't have a lot of time to talk about some of the specifics from that game. And I guess how they can affect this next game. Obviously, the Pringle injury is one of them. Obviously, winning without Reitzel, huge. I mean, absolutely huge. And obviously, Grant Nelson. Man, Grant, I'll tell you, did anybody else harken back to the days of Dr. J when Grant Nelson went under the backboard right-handed, now, Dr. J didn't switch hands. He jumped a lot higher. But Grant Nelson switched the hands and then laid it up left-handed with some backspin. It was absolutely beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And he was awesome. But because Grant Nelson was so awesome at the end, we really didn't talk enough about Rylan Griffin, I don't think, or frankly, Aaron Estrada. I did say this the other night. Aaron Estrada, they kept harping on this over and over again on the broadcast, that Aaron Estrada might be the only guy that's, able to take the mid-range jumpers, without getting yelled at. And that may be true. I would also say that he may be the only guy that when he shoots a three-pointer, I'm like, don't shoot a three-pointer. I mean, it feels like he misses too many. Now, I'm not getting on Aaron Estrada. I'm just saying it does feel that way to me.
I don't know what the percentages are off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure it's not as good as Reitzel, I think, as the best three-point percentage on the team. Sears would certainly be up there, and Sears takes so many and still would be up there in percentage makes. But Aaron's been a good player. He's sort of a stat sheet filler to me because what I like about Aaron is he will score points, but he gets his rebounds. He'll steal the ball here and there. He probably gets some blue-collar points. I mean, he's probably been a hard hat winner several times. He's made a solid contribution to this team. You got to remember, this is the last college, but whenever Alabama loses, whenever that is, or maybe they won't lose, But whenever they lose, that's his last college basketball game. Everyone else can choose to return to college basketball, but Aaron Estrada cannot. He's out of eligibility, and I think he's playing like he doesn't want to stop playing college basketball. And let's remember, this guy played for 3 years, or he played in other places, but he's clearly having the time of his life at Alabama. This has meant the world to him, playing in such a big stage in front of big crowds. The support of Alabama fans, the world over, and certainly in the South. And I think Aaron Estrada just doesn't want this season to end. I also think Grant Nelson and some of the other transfers have really started, if they didn't already, have really begun enjoying Alabama and the size of it and how cool it is to be part of such a big thing. Because North Dakota State basketball is clearly not a big thing. They came in third, or had like a losing record, I think, in their league last year, even with Grant Nelson on the team. I bet Grant's enjoyed the winning, and certainly winning on a stage of this size. And boy, it's a Des Bryant, of all people, former NFL player, was like, boy, Grant Nelson became a star.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, because people like you were tweeting about him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Couple of things. Moon Rocka says Estrada's shooting 31% from three, according to ESPN. And look, that's the beauty of this show, is that we do zero research. We just talk right off the top of our head.
I do some research, just not necessarily for the show.
But my point is this, and I think, again, I don't think I'm alone here. It feels like when he's made threes, the one that he made the other night, a glaring exception. He made a huge one. He leaned into that three. It was beautiful. But I also remember the other night, wide open in the left corner, and like nobody around him, and it spins out. And it never looked good from the jump. And so my point was, and all of his mid-range jumpers, they're like things of beauty. He is a throwback with these mid-range things. Even
tell that was a big part of his game. It's a big part of his game before he got here. You bet that must have been a big part of his game before he got here.
Got a good hook. He can go hook left or righty. And he did a hook over Baycott the other night. It was crazy. And so I'm just saying that it sort of is counterintuitive to the Nate Oates system. By the way, anybody, this is just a personal pet peeve. It's not a big deal. I don't know why people continue to insist on putting an E at the end of in between the T and the S in Oates' name.
Why? I don't know. I guess
that is like his name is so misspelled so often, and I'm like, it's only 4 letters. And I used to do it myself too, and then I was like, all right, I need to look this up and get ready. And it's just Oates, like Hall and Oates, or by the way, when I was younger, I thought Hall and Oates was like hauling oats, like you had a truck with a bunch of oats in it. That's what I thought. That's true. So that's the kind of guy you're listening to right now. But anyway, Jimmy,
you ever seen that album cover with Hall and Oates where they're on a moped? Have you seen this?
Yes.
Just the worst. Great band. I like the songs. I do. I like Daryl Hall. I like Daryl Hall. Great shows at live at Daryl's house.
They don't like each other anymore.
No, I think there's a suit. There's a suit. Somebody put a suit. Yeah, I forget what it's about, but there is a suit. That's very unfortunate.
And John Oates is about. He's Zakai Ziegler of bands. He is 4 foot nothing. But all right, Jimmy, really quickly, give me your prediction tonight.
Alabama will beat Clemson and make it to their first Final Four in a super tight, physical ball game. I like Alabama by 2 in a lower scoring game than people would like to see. How about Alabama 73, Clemson 71? Mark Sears is the big star. Mark Sears hits the big shots.
All right. I'm going to do the same thing I did the other night. My head is saying Clemson because I feel like their style of play may rough us up a little, and I feel like
Agreed.
My head says 67-63 Clemson. I'm going with my heart, 75-70 Bama. So those are my official predictions and Jimmy's. Right now, though, I am going to tell you about Nissan. You know you love Nissan. We all love Nissan. Nissan's the best, man. I don't even know why anybody couldn't love
I had a Nissan once. I've had a Nissan. Sweet. And good experience.
This week's March Madness Bracket Highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. Just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. The Yukon Huskies can only be described as an Armada. That is very true. This one seed is as hardcore as it gets out there, so it's no wonder they secured a spot in the Elite Eight and will battle Illinois in the Elite Eight for a chance to play in the Final Four. They're the favorite, picked by many to make a run for the championship. And I'm going to throw one other one in there. The Alabama Crimson Tide can only be described as a Pathfinder. They've been thrilling to watch and have created a lane for themselves, entering the tournament as one of the hottest teams in the country. After taking down North Carolina in the Sweet 16, they'll look to battle Clemson to earn a trip to the Final Four for the first time in program history. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure.
My brother has an Armada. Just occurred to me.
Who does?
My brother.
Oh, cool. Like a literal one or the Nissan?
No, my brother's got a
You
Nissan
have a series
Armada.
of ships?
That would be cool. That would be cool. No, he's got a Nissan Armada. He used to have a Pathfinder. I guess we're a Nissan family. I didn't realize it.
I wonder if people realize when I do things like, shop NissanUSA.com that I'm delaying so that I can find what I'm supposed to find on this other screen.
That's good.
I wonder if people realize that. They do now.
You're a pro. You're a pro. People should realize that for sure. That's what pros do.
Jimmy, the scrimmage Thursday.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, it's been weird, right? To me. Now, again, I've been out of town, so and I have been following, but it's been weird that there's been less coming out of this scrimmage to me. And I think part of it is because Alabama going in the Elite Eight, so that everybody's sort of like so captivated by that. Maybe there hadn't been as much focus on football, which is also weird. But it just feels like for this staff that is usually very open and has been more media friendly, that we would have learned more about this particular scrimmage. But what have you learned?
Well, first of all, there's a reason there's been less information out of it than what one might expect, and that's simply because the nature of like for instance, next Saturday scrimmage that will be at Bryant-Denny Stadium, Crimson Tide Foundation members will be there. Red Elephant Club members will be there. A Club members will be there. You combine those three groups, and there's going to be a couple thousand or people more in the stadium. This past scrimmage, no one was allowed. I think the only people in the stadium that were guests or watching were players' parents who know not to speak generally. I mean, so that's why it was quiet. There was no one there. It was just the team. And in terms of media post-game, as soon as the scrimmage was over, DeBoer talked, and DeBoer answered the questions that were asked, but there hasn't been any media since because they haven't practiced since. So I think you add all that up, and that's why it's been quiet. In terms of what we've been able to get from it, the quarterbacks played well. There is a really good highlight video that the university put out, that Alabama football put out, that's good. You can see some stuff, and my gosh, the throws by Austin Mack. There's only two of them, but Austin Mack makes two throws on that highlight video that's like, now we see why there's some excitement about it. He's just so smooth to be such a huge kid. So smooth. All the quarterbacks had a good day. I have heard some inside stuff. How about this for if y'all want inside scoop? The running backs were really good, in particular Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. And I've been playing them up. Luke's been playing them up. I call it the Justice and Jam show. I know people think that, hey, the new staff's coming in, we're going to throw it all over the place. Fairly true, but you're way off if you think that they're not going to run the ball. The best offensive minds build it around what you've got. They don't just say, hey, I'm going to run the Penix offense, and I don't care if the players can do it or not. This is what I am, and this is what I do, and these are the plays I'm going to call. No, people that don't have jobs very long do it that way. The people that are really good at their jobs, they show up and they have a catalog of plays and a catalog of what their offense can do, and they use it to fit the hand that they're dealt. And the hand that DeBoer and Sheridan are dealt is that Justice Haynes and Jam Miller may be the two best players in the offense. And they're going to run the ball and throw it to those guys a lot. And I heard they had both really nice days and probably building the idea that, hey, we can win because we're going to build it around these guys.
Okay, that's some very good news. Receiver wise, anybody
I haven't
stand
heard
out?
specifically, although I think Jeremy Bernard had a nice day, which shouldn't surprise people. He's the one most comfortable with the new offense, right? Because he played in it a year ago. I'd say the biggest news on offense that people have been talking about. I don't have much news to share about it because I've heard what everybody out there has heard, but we only report facts at BOL. We only report facts here at Locked On Bama. So we don't have facts for you, but Parker Brailsford was not at the scrimmage and did not participate. I'm not going to go anything beyond that because, we'll report something when we know a verifiable fact that we can report. But Parker Brailsford wasn't at the scrimmage, so James Brockermeyer was the first team center. And I've heard that Joseph Ionata, it was just a battlefield promotion. He's been the third center. So Jay Brock, as they call him, was the starting center. Ionata played with the twos.
Question, your concern level about Brailsford not being out there.
Pretty high.
Yeesh.
But not verifiable. Let's see. It's not, let's just see. We're still seeing.
God, if
Calls are
we
made.
lose Seth McLaughlin, it's bad snaps and all, and we bring in a dude who, arguably, though undersized, may be the best center in the game, and then we lose him too for whatever reason. Sheesh.
Two upsides. Number one, the portal opens for business 2 weeks from Monday. That's number one. Number two, James Brockermeyer had yet to be beat out. Brailsford, sure, I would say he's the favorite. If Brailsford is with this team, I would still say he's the favorite to be the starting center. But to this point, and we're now more than halfway through spring, he had beat out James Brockermeyer, who I've always liked. And people, and let me address this because I've seen it addressed so many times. I know it's frustrating for people. They're like, well, if Brockermeyer's so good, why didn't he play last year? Because we really need another center because Seth was terrible. Kids are ready when they're ready. They're not just all ready. They don't show up ready. It's college football. It's a developmental sport. They don't show up pros. They're learning how to play at a high level. And in James Brockermeyer's sense, the first thing he had to do when he got to Alabama is get bigger, stronger. That is not something that happens overnight. It literally takes a while. And I don't know, people that might have listened to the show, I bet I said this 3 years ago when someone said, well, what do you think about the other Brockermeyer, James? I probably said, certainly the attitude I've always had about him is that I think down the road, he might be pretty good. It's just going to take a minute with him. But down the road, he's an excellent prospect because he has all the intangibles. There's a lot of bulldog in him. But it's going to take a while. He's got to get bigger and stronger before it's all ready. And I would have said back then, hey, year 3, year 4 with him. Well, now we're literally in between year 3 and year 4, and it's happening for him now. So he just wasn't ready a year ago. He was just a little small and still working on things. And one final thing about Seth, anytime anybody talks about Seth, they talk about the snaps. Once Seth snapped the ball, he was a good center. He was good. He was a good player.
Except for the whole snapping thing. Our snapper was awesome.
After the snapping, he was good. And for those that don't understand, hey, next time we have a center that doesn't get his position blocked at all, no one's going to be talking about, but the snaps are so good. No one will say that.
Yeah.
Seth did a good job of getting his position blocked. And that's why Ohio State was so happy to get him. He didn't transfer to Iowa State Tech A&M. Ohio State looked at the tape and said, we want this guy. So, yes, he has to cure the snapping problem. And maybe the Buckeyes could figure that out.
The other Brockermeyer gave up football at TCU. John Sellers reminds us, and I'll remind y'all, at the national championship game in Indianapolis, I ran into the Brockermeyer's mother. She's a foxy lady, I gotta say. But I feel like I'm saying that without trying to get in trouble with any other Brockermeyer.
You don't want to get in trouble with them. Tommy, by the way, fought. Tommy was never really healthy. And I think
isn't it funny? He was the 5-star and James was like the low 4.
Yeah, and James may end up being the guy that's a starter at the Power 5 level. But Tommy was hurt, and I'm sure at some point you just get so frustrated that you're not out there, and just didn't work out for him. Not the first 5-star where it didn't work out, and usually when a 5-star, when it doesn't work out, why? Injuries. Usually, not 100% of the time, but usually it's injuries. And I think with Tommy, that was really largely the situation. But James, hey, one thing about James is true. If you ask someone close to the program about James, the word bulldog comes up every time. And it has for a couple of years. That's not new. He's always been feisty and a fighter. He's just been undersized. And it takes a while not just to gain the size, Luke, but to learn how to play at this level when the other guy is bigger, stronger, faster. It's a learning thing about how do I block guys who are bigger and more athletic than me. That's not something that's going to happen overnight. But should James Brockermeyer end up being Alabama's center, I'm going to be pretty confident in the kid.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. Y'all, let's get ready for that Elite Eight game. Let's bring it home. And, Jimmy, if we win, we're going live. You can bet your bottom dollar on that.
Okay, so
if we
in other
lose,
words, manage.
We might be dead.
Manage.
Literally.
What Luke is telling me, people, is manage the beer intake. We're going on live.
Yes. So, that's Luke's. That's my wink of the day towards Jimmy Stein.
That's his. We don't have to read between the lines, but I'm just telling y'all what Luke was saying.
All right. We will talk to you guys later. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.